All right, I normally don't talk about politics on this channel, but let's get into it. Let's talk about it because there's some really exciting, interesting things going on. I want to talk about Trump and Elon Musk and what they're doing and whether I think that's good. Spoiler, I do. I think it's really good, actually, and I'll tell you why. And then I want to tell you about what my political persuasion is, and we'll start with that. So I'm libertarian with the lowercase l, not the capital L, not the official Libertarian Party. The reason why is because I believe in the principles of libertarianism, right? So if you want to really understand what that is, read For a New Liberty. That's a really good book to read to understand how this actually works and why it's important. How I Found Freedom in an Unfree World by Harry Brown is a good one as well. Atlas Shrugged by Ayn Rand is an excellent one. It's not specifically about libertarianism, but it's about free market economies and capitalism, which is really the hallmark of a libertarian type of government. If you would even call it that, it's more of a philosophy than a government because it's really the absence of government. It's self-governship, right, at a lowest level. And then I would say read Basic Economics. It's a big one by Thomas Sowell. That's a really good book on understanding free market economics and really getting a good education on this, right? So the reason why a lot of people don't understand libertarianism is because they haven't really studied it. And I think if you do, you'll find that it makes a lot of sense, right? So I'm going to get all these kind of arguments in the comments. I can see it already, blah, 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 taxes, we need roads, we need schools, blah, 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 helping people. Okay, that stuff, like I said, I don't have the time in this video to educate you on all of those things. I mean, we can do separate videos and I can talk about each one of those points and show you why it makes sense, or you can read the required reading material. We can save ourselves some time. So, okay, let's get to Trump and let's get to Elon Musk. So what's going on here? As far as Trump, first of all, am I a Trump supporter? Yes, I am. Okay, I'll just say that. I've been on the fence about him sometimes. The only thing that's really put me on the fence about him has been the way that he's expressed his dialogue sometimes, especially on different platforms, and some of it comes across in a way that it rubs people the wrong way, which, again, there's nothing super wrong about that, but it sort of hurts the message, I think, a lot of times. Right now, with this election, with this cycle of Trump, and hearing him on Joe Rogan, right? I think that was the thing that really pushed me over the edge of saying, okay, yeah, I'm 100% Trump on this. Because really, Vivek Ramsway was my pick for president, and so before I heard this. And then when I heard Trump on Joe Rogan, it made a lot of sense to me. It's like you can't talk for 3 hours and not get a good sense of the character of a person, which I could have already had an idea. If you know my history and background, I actually got started in real estate investment about 20 something years ago when I was 19, 20 years old. And one of the reasons why was I read The Art of the Deal by Trump, and it was a really good book. And there were some other books and influences, Millionaire Real Estate Investor by Gary Keller, and some other things that influenced that. But I had been a fan of Trump, at least in his negotiation and business tactics, since then, right? So it was pretty interesting to watch him become president, the first time. And it was actually really interesting to see this happen the second time, right? And so I think what's happening is we're seeing a backlash from the woke sort of agenda that people are sick of, and that's a good thing, right? When Trump won this election cycle, he swept all of the swing states. He won the popular vote. It's clear that the majority of people do want what he is offering. And really what excited me the most about Trump's presidency was Elon Musk and the Doge, and that Vivek Ramsway was going to be in it, but yeah, I guess he's bowed out of that, but it's fine because it seems like Elon Musk is doing a pretty dang good job of cutting up the government. And if you know libertarianism, it's all about less government, smaller government. And so I like that. I think that's good. But more importantly, what I think is really good about what Elon is doing is he's creating transparency. He's going through and he is applying a common sense approach. And what I'm seeing now is what I think that all of us that are United States citizens should have had from the start, which is feeling like you have an ownership in the equity that is the United States as the business, right? And I think that makes a lot of sense, right? The talk of the sovereign wealth fund makes a lot of sense, right? Because there's a lot of natural resources in the Americas that should be used for the people, right? There's a lot of other countries that have this, and we'll see if that actually comes to fruition. But with Elon Musk tearing apart US aid and exposing all this stuff publicly, I think that's great. I think that's awesome. And it's hard to imagine that people are opposed to this, right? It's hard to imagine that there's backlash against us. I'm sure I'll see it in the comments here. But what I would say to this is that have mercy on those people. Do not get animalistic and angry at those people and call them idiots and stupid, because the fact is that they are brainwashed by media, by social media, by traditional media, which, as we can see now, was funded by the woke policies of the Democratic government, right? Of the Democrats, the Dems, right? So we're seeing a very liberal news outlet and media because it's manipulated, it's corrupt, right? The government, as we look at the spending, is extremely corrupt. There's a huge waste in spending. There's a lot of people who we're seeing that they're lining their pockets with government funds, which is your funds. And I'm glad to see that being eradicated. But eradicating it temporarily does not solve the problem, right? So Elon goes in there with his team of crackerjack programmers and tech boys, and he finds all this stuff. What has to be put into place is measures to make sure this doesn't happen, right? So it doesn't happen again. And so I think that's going to be the critical thing is seeing that how do you prevent this from occurring again, right? How do you put some checks and balances in there? How do you make things more transparent? That's really the key. He was talking about putting all the financial transactions of the US government on the blockchain, and I think that makes sense. I mean, obviously there's going to be some things that are information that should not be publicly available for the security of the nation. I can see that, but a majority of stuff should be on there, and people should know what it is. And the same thing with voting on bills, right? People should be able to see the full document of the bill before it's voted on 5 days ahead of time, so people can express concerns and things like that. So I think that just taking a look at all of the things that's going on, Trump enacted a bunch of executive orders, right? I think a lot of these were great. They're amazing things, right? I'm not so excited about the Gulf of America. It doesn't really matter. I mean, people are getting upset about that. It's a small thing. I think that was a distraction technique that he used in order to push some other things through, which I think was well played, right? Because people talked about that one and the other stuff went through. I think getting rid of the DEI initiatives is fantastic, getting rid of all the woke stuff. I mean, these are real progressive things that are beneficial to the economy and to the people, right? And so I think that's really great. It's making it so that, I was attacked by the whole woke cancel culture a few years ago. In a way, I did some things that, like, I said some stuff, I went off on Twitter. I probably should have reined in what I said, but I felt it firsthand and it was not fun, right? And so I think getting rid of that is great. These are things like what I'm seeing is a creation of more of a meritocracy, and that's how things should be, a meritocracy. Again, if you read Atlas Shrugged on Rand, you'll see the dangers of not having a meritocracy and how it really causes society to fall apart and the motivation of people to be diminished drastically, because there's no point. There's no point in striving, because if you have more will be taken from you, more will be required of you, right? And so a meritocracy is very important. So yeah, I'm really in support of everything that's going on. The only thing I'm not in support of is I do see a lot of people that are rubbing it in the liberals' faces or rubbing in the woke people's faces, and I don't think that's cool. I think that, and you've heard me say this, is that everything that you should be doing should be coming from a place of love. I really do believe that is true. That's the wisdom I've gained over the years, and I haven't always abided by that, but I try my best to do that now, and it makes a difference. And I think that it makes a difference in people's perceptions, and I think that if you're going to be the good guys, you got to act like the good guys. And I'm not saying that that's always the case. I'm not saying that everyone's doing this, but I would caution you, be careful. Don't rub it in someone's face. No one likes a sore winner. It sends the wrong message. It ends up creating a retaliatory sort of vindictive attitude within people, which wants to take you down and see you cry instead. And that's not productive, right? The idea is not that other people that believe these things are enemies. It's these ideologies, these woke ideologies are the enemy, and that's who we should be going after, is dismantling these ideologies. And we do this by showing that we have better ideologies, and that these better ideologies, they better treat people better as well, right? And I think that they do, but it has to be demonstrated by the people who are promoting and supporting these things. And so I think that's very important as well. So yeah, overall, I'm really excited to see what happens. I think that a majority of the stuff that's happening, I'm in agreement with. I think that it is clear that the president has too much power in the United States, which again, I think that a lot of the Democratic policies have sort of widened the executive powers, and we'll probably see that reined in after this, but let the damage be done first, because right now, I think the entire federal government needs to be under heavy scrutiny, and the swamp is being drained. I do see that is happening in this case. And, I think what happened too, just to give a history of this, is that there were some critical steps that occurred that had to occur in order for this to take place, which one of them was Elon buying Twitter, right? And so X now is profitable, privately profitable. It's amazing what he's done. He cut 80% of the staff, and now the revenue has dipped, but the profitability has increased. So he's done what he said. This guy's a genius, right? This guy also, a lot of people say, oh, I don't trust Elon Musk. Musk with Social Security. Come on, please. This guy is worth what? $500 million, 300, whatever it is, like ridiculous amount of money, richest man in the world. His aspirations is to save the human race and to go to Mars. It's not to make more money. He doesn't need more money, right? That was what his aspirations are. So is he 100% perfect, the savior of humanity? No, I don't think so. He's got his flaws, but he's got a lot more stuff figured out than a lot more people. He's probably the most successful business person who's ever existed on this earth, right? So that's a pretty big accomplishment. So this guy's got to be pretty damn smart. So it's funny there's all these armchair quarterbacks that are criticizing Elon Musk when they don't have even a quarter of the intelligence that he does or the experience or wisdom that he has demonstrated. I mean, he got to where he was because of a lot of attributes that he must possess, right? So it's not luck. You can't luck your way up to there, right? So anyway, I think that him buying Twitter and making it into X, that had to occur to create a free speech platform where these ideas could come out, right? Because media was controlled very much by the woke mob and liberal media. And so the ideas, a lot of this stuff was being silenced, whereas finally a true voice came out and people could talk about these things. And I think that led to a lot of people, when confronted with the truth, changing their perspectives, right? Which is a good thing. And then I would say that what also had to happen was Trump being on Joe Rogan, right? It's amazing how Joe Rogan has influenced the culture or the direction of the entire world, right? I mean, this is pivotal, right? So I think a lot of people saw Trump on there and that changed their minds, right? And made them realize, okay, I would vote for this guy. It makes the most sense, right? Kamala, it's funny that they released the interview later of her full interview and you can see what a mistake that would have been. But I think that, it's going to get worse before it gets better in the sense that we're going to see heavy pushback. There's a lot of corruption. When you pull back the sheets and expose corruption, there's gonna be people that are upset about that, and they're gonna fight heavily, and we're gonna see a lot of that. And so, what I would encourage you to do is don't let all this stuff, don't get caught up in all this stuff. And it's exciting. It's good to see progress being made in the right direction for once. But for your day to day, don't get into arguments and fights and worry about this stuff. Like just put your head down, do the work that you need to do, get your life in order. And there's good stuff on the horizon, hopefully, but we'll see what happens. It could swing back the other way. Like a lot of this stuff could fail. And, if it does, then it does. Then or at least now, without any kind of shadow of doubt, that there is a huge amount of corruption in the government. It's very clear that what's seen cannot be unseen at this point. So anyway, that's my views on it. I'm happy to talk about, some of the finer points of any of the policies or things. Even the tariff thing, people were upset about the tariff thing. I think it's smart. I think it makes a lot of sense. It's a good negotiation. I mean, Trump is the ultimate negotiator. You can see that at least a lot of the governments of the world, even though they might not like Trump, they respect him because they know that he will take action. And I do think that tariffs do make sense for the purpose of what he's trying to achieve there, right? So again, it's a very isolationist type of political climate, and I think that's important. I think that you have to have your tribes and you have to protect your own to a degree. I mean, not at the cost of harming so many other people. And I don't think that's the case. I think for a long time, the United States has been in a position where it has been at a disadvantage and based on the deals that it's been in, and I think that it's good that that's changing. So anyway, if you are interested in changing your life and focusing on important stuff, not the news and politics, that's why I don't really talk about it that much. Check out the Bulldog Mindset membership. Click the link down below, and I will see you tomorrow.